What's up everyone? You're very welcome along to tonight's second live video podcast here on Anfield Agenda. I'm your host Craig, and joining me on tonight's COP Council I've got Dave and I've got Christian. And Dave, while we're waiting for the chat to fill up and the guys to come in and give us some topics to talk about, I just thought I'd catch up with you, buddy, and see how you're getting through this international break, because I'm suffering.
Same as that. Yeah, I love the World Cup and the Euros, but Christ almighty, this League of Nations, it sounds like it just sounds like a Marvel comic waste of time. So, no, not for me, mate. Not really getting through it, watching old Liverpool videos and Liverpool clips and things like that to pass the time, if I'm totally honest. There's not even any news.
Nah, it's been quiet. And Christian, for you, buddy, how are you finding the new League of Nations or International League or whatever the hell it's called? I can't even think of the name, that's how little I care.
Well, it's a bit of a vacuum after the World Cup. You feel like you spend so much time together with your national team, and all of a sudden it's these games coming up, and they don't really mean the same. So you don't care in the same level at all. I think actually Sweden is playing Turkey now, but I'm not even bothered to watch it.
Well, I think we've all summed up our feelings quite well there. Basically, nobody gives a fuck about the international break, except that it interferes with the Reds. Guys, this show is based on you guys giving us topics to talk about. So if there's anything particular you want myself, Christian and Dave to chat about, please just put it into the chat there and we'll go with it. We want to start off though by talking about a topic that Crosby Red suggested last night. So Dave, I want to come to you, mate, and get your thoughts on the progress of young Joe Gomez this season.
It's been fantastic. I remember when we signed him, I had a chat with a really good mate of mine. He's a huge Arsenal fan. He goes, "You've signed a really good defender there." So that's coming to fruition now. I think, he's as cool as a cucumber. He's a very, very smart defender. It's no real surprise, and just look, I think he has a very high ceiling, and long may it continue.
Good to see as well, Dave, that it seems Liverpool want to sit down and negotiate a new improved deal for Joe Gomez, which is great to see.
Yeah, that'll give the player a lot of confidence as well, because he is doing a lot of things right. Van Dijk is, he's kind of looking after him as well, and you can see that. A quality defender, an absolute peach of a defender, and he's, 22, 21? I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but Christ, he's just fantastic.
Yeah, the boy's got a gift. He really has. He's a talented dude.
Yes, yeah.
Christian, one thing that has gone against Joe Gomez and kind of hindered his Liverpool career thus far has been the injuries that he picks up. What's your take on that?
Well, at the moment it looks like he's completely recovered, and which is fantastic since everyone else has been injured, basically. I think he couldn't get a better start for the season than he have had, but still I see that he lacks concentration sometimes, and he have always conceded 2 goals that could have cost Liverpool 4 points at the end of the game against Brighton and at the end of the game against Leicester, that they almost really injured us there, so to speak. But at the moment, Liverpool couldn't be happier with his performance. We are. What could we have if we hadn't had Gomez? That's another kind of interesting question. He came in and saved us to be the second central defender, and now with Dejan Lovren looking to be gone for maybe until November, with all these fixtures coming up, we really need Gomez to continue what he has started, but even improve from that.
Mossy Wassy in the chat has said Gomez will be the Trent of this season, the breakthrough player, which I think is spot on. And Dave, it's not unusual to see a player like young Joe Gomez. I'm going to keep, even if he'd be 30 and I'll still be calling him young Joe Gomez. It's not unusual to see a player like that break through and then either pick up an injury or have a bit of a down period. And at times we need to just relax and realise these dudes are young, but the faith that's been shown in Joe Gomez, by the manager so far has been unbelievable. And all summer, many of us were screaming out for Liverpool to bring in another central defender to get in. Matip seems to be injured quite a lot, but Klopp stood there and said, no, I want Joe Gomez. I want Gomez to be the person that plays alongside these guys. And you know what? I don't want to say stubbornness, but his belief in Joe Gomez has certainly paid off in spades at the start of the season.
And that's what it is, mate, belief. But the thing that with Joe Gomez that's really impressed me as well, because obviously he's played left back, he's played right back. He's at home now in the middle, being a centre half. When he got the injuries, you automatically worry that, Christ, is he going to be the same player? I don't think he is the same player. I actually think he's had to change his game. And he's had to become a player who obviously reads the game a lot more and kind of looks at his surroundings a lot more as well, because he is smack bang in the middle. It's difficult to see where exactly this boy is going to go. But for me, he's only going to go one place, and that's hopefully to the very top.
Amen, brother. Amen on that one. Christian, you mentioned Dejan Lovren a few minutes ago, so I want to circle back to him for a second. There's been a lot of confusion amongst Liverpool fans, particularly on social media, about what on earth is going on with Dejan Lovren. One minute we hear it's an injury, and that is most probably 100% accurate. Other times, of course, you're hearing different bits and pieces. But what's your take on it?
Yeah, it's an injury, and he played for the Croatia in the World Cup, and during that period of time, he picked up an injury. And I'm not sure if it's a nerve that are strained within his back or what it is, but it's something that he played through the pain barrier. And because of that, it took longer time to recover. But on the other hand, to play for your country and you got as far as they did, you kind of understand why he did it. However, we are the ones suffering because we go into this program, and I think now Gomez will be tested for the first time. Like I said before, we have been a bit lucky. We played Leicester without Vardy, and now we are going to play all these. Now it's going to be Harry Kane for the first game, and then it's going to be Neymar, and also the opponents, they play towards Trent and Gomez area, preferably, because Van Dijk and Robertson are so solid in defense. So they are throwing everything they have towards that side. So he really has to play at his absolute top at the moment, Gomez.
Dave, I want to ask you a straightforward question. When Dejan Lovren comes back and proves he's match fit, who gets the start?
Joe Gomez.
Christian?
Lovren.
I would side with Dave, but only for this reason. I'm a firm believer in, if you're playing well, you keep the jersey. And if Joe Gomez slips up or gets caught ball watching, like Christian suggested before, which has happened to him on a couple of occasions, or perhaps also, as Christian suggested, if he gets bullied or picked at by other teams and gets taken apart, then of course I fully think Dejan Lovren could come in. If you had asked me this question, 6 weeks ago, all summer I'd have told you Dejan Lovren. I just think the start that Joe Gomez has had this season would cement him having the shirt, for me, at this moment in time anyway. We've got a bit of news. It's not breaking news, it's just news that Dave has been kind enough to put in the chat here for us, and not you, Dave, so don't get excited. A different Dave. He said Michael Oliver to referee the game on Saturday for Liverpool against Spurs. So, Christian, your thoughts on Michael Oliver as the ref?
Well, I'm not a huge. I used to be a huge fan about British referees, but I think actually time has basically been standing still in Britain when it comes to refereeing, and I think the rest of Europe, for instance, has improved their referees in a much bigger tempo than what's happened in England. And I think you can see that. I mean, he's probably one of the best in England, but yeah, I'm not too much fan of him, or not many of in Britain. at the moment.
So Dave, I've got to be honest, mate. I'm so happy to hear Christian say that from a European perspective, because it's one thing for me or you to be sitting here week after week as Irish and English people saying referees are a load of bollocks in the Premier League. They're absolutely terrible, and I'm so glad to hear somebody else reaffirm that kind of stance.
Yeah, let's be honest. Excuse me, sorry. Ray Charles would do a better job at this stage of the refereeing. It's just a joke. It's just become a comedy. And Christian is right. Christian, you know, he probably watches a lot of other European football, German, Swedish, whatever it might be. But the standing of refereeing in the Premier League is just an absolute joke. It really is.
It's not great, and it's not the first time this season we've had this. And we spoke about this when Liverpool have won. That's the really weird thing. To be on here criticising the referees time and time again after Liverpool have won, it kind of lets you know we are dead serious about this. Just going into the chat, people's opinions on the Gomez versus Dejan Lovren starting place. It seems to be the thoughts of the chat are fully behind Joe Gomez to keep the spot at this moment in time. Look, it doesn't really matter what I say, Christian says, Dave says, or indeed the chat says. It does come down to Jurgen Klopp, and we all will wait to see what Jurgen Klopp does, but I'm sure we all trust him. Jace Roberts says, respect to Joe from battling back from injury. He's doing well at fullback, now grasping his opportunity at centre-back. Can't underestimate the influence of Virgil van Dijk. May have been different alongside Lovren or Matip. So, Christian, on Jason's point there, how much of an influence do you think Virgil van Dijk has been in settling in Joe Gomez to the new start of his at centre-back?
Massive, but I think Van Dijk has improved everyone in every single area. I don't want to criticize Van Dijk because there's not really that much to criticize about him, but sometimes he can almost be too comfortable, so to speak, to maybe set the next player up with a little bit not enough time to make a perfect decision. But all in all, probably one of the 3 best defenders in the world at the moment, I would say. And like I said, imagine being Joe Gomez coming into this season, no pressure. We get 4 quite easy teams to start with. He gets to play with Van Dijk. There's no competition. It's the perfect win-win for him to start. Now the tests start, and now we get to see how good Van Dijk is in making sure all back 4 and Alisson that they keep the momentum, but also for all the other ones that I think need to be like 110% of their game for what's coming now.
I want to have a little chat about an incident that happened last night, but before that I just want to take a moment to remind everybody in the chat, guys, if there's a subject, a topic you'd like myself, Dave and Christian to talk about, this is your show. You let us know what you want to talk about. I'll come back into the chat in a second, grab the next topic and move on. Dave, I'm not sure if you watched much of the France versus Netherlands game yesterday evening, but there was an incident with Griezmann and Gini Wijnaldum. I just want to know if you've seen it.
I seen the clip today on Twitter. I didn't watch the game at all, mate, but I did see the clip, yeah.
That's Antoine Griezmann's chances of ever winning a Ballon d'Or gone out the window now. He's buried. That's it. He's done.
Out the window. Yeah, Gini just absolutely destroyed him, and the only thing Griezmann to do is pull down Gini's shorts.
And he couldn't even execute that properly.
He'd do that, yeah, exactly. He made a dickhead of himself, look, doing that. If he'd done it properly, he would have had a chance, yeah, but he just, just held on. And Gini was having none of it.
Christian?
But didn't Gini have something like, didn't he have another 100% pass rate last night?
He was excellent. He really was well. He did play really well. It was an interesting game, Christian. Did you watch much of it? It kind of gave us a little glimpse into the possible Van Dijk versus Mbappe situation that we may have on September 18th.
Yeah, I've seen some glimpse of the game, but I didn't watch it. Again, as you say, I'm really not into watching these friendlies or whatever these are called at the moment, Nations Cup. However, Gini Wijnaldum, he's one of the 3 contenders to be player of the season for Liverpool so far, I think. He's been absolutely fantastic. I think it's it's him together with Milner and Van Dijk so far.
Talking about that, Dave, and I suppose that leads us nicely into talking about team selection for the weekend, the game against Spurs at Wembley. All week I've been going back and forth in my mind, tossing around teams, and I think what I've ended up with, and this is going to go completely against what Christian has just said because I'm dropping Gini Wijnaldum in this scenario, but my midfield trio will consist of Jordan Henderson, James Milner and Naby Keita. That's the three that I would probably expect to start this game.
Yeah, the only fear I'd have with Gini, we've seen it against Leicester, is disappearing away from home. He was non-existent against Leicester. I agree with Christian said. He's been absolutely phenomenal before that. You know, he was my man of the match against Brighton. But he was. Now maybe look, it's the players beside him. Maybe he missed Naby Keita. You know, because he's been really good with Keita beside him. My midfield three for Spurs. It's difficult to say. I'm probably, if I was Klopp, gonna leave out Gini because of the away from home factor. I know it's a silly excuse, but I think his game against Leicester. But then look, we have the likes of Fabinho coming back. Is he going to start? That's going to be really interesting. But you know, we go back to this conversation. The absolute beauty of the conversation that we're having is look at the fucking options we have. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You know, so they're fantastic conversations to have instead of saying, you know, I wouldn't start him, he's shite, no, he's shite, no, he's shite. Now we're saying, you know, we have 5 really quality midfielders here. Who comes into the team? It's brilliant.
Yeah, Christian, it's a long way away from the Champions League final where we're looking to the bench to see an unfit Adam Lallana, an unfit Emre Can and Dominic Solanke, isn't it? It's a long way from there.
Yeah, it is. However, Henderson, I'm pretty sure he won't start against Spurs. He's been the one who looks mostly not up to speed and up to tempo, and probably that's why he was the first one substituted against Leicester as well. I'm pretty sure it will be Keita, Wijnaldum and Milner. Those three have looked the strongest together. And I don't think Klopp wants to experiment. And I also thought that Henderson, I watched 45 minutes against Spain. I thought Henderson was struggling a bit against Spain.
You see, now, I agree where you're coming from there, and I don't think that Gini Wijnaldum has done anything that deserves to be dropped. I just think that the gaffer really does like Jordan Henderson, but you've put forward a very valid argument there, Christian. So, you know, either way, whatever trio he goes with, as Dave's just touched on, we have a great selection there. And I want to circle back, Dave, to Fabinho because he's the hot topic. I'm looking here in the chat, and every night when I'm on here doing live streams, people ask me every single time, when's Fabinho going to start? When's Fabinho going to play? My mindset has been the Champions League. I've thought that's where he may be penciled in for a start or for some game time. But I'd love to get your perspective on this, buddy, because it's a really hot topic amongst Liverpool fans.
Yeah, it's a good point. And there's 2 reasons why I actually agree with you. I think his start will be against PSG. Number one, it is because PSG, he's played against a good few times and he knows. But number 2 is just the travelling aspect. God knows when the players are back from Brazil. Is he going to be jaded? I know, look, they're fit lads and all that, but travelling takes a lot out of you. So I would agree with you. I think PSG is going to be his first game. And as I said, it's just because he knows that team very well. He's played against them before in a numerous amount of times.
And Christian, coming to you on this one, I want to pitch it a little bit differently to you, buddy. I want to ask you something that I've been asked twice. I thought when I was asked it once, I thought that could have been a fluke, but I've been asked twice this same thing. Do you see any future scenario where Fabinho plays at right back and Trent moves into centre midfield?
I wouldn't say that Trent goes to central midfield because of it, but I can see Fabinho playing right fullback. Trent is a diverse football player, and we have just seen the start of his career, and you can see now he's like becoming a player that believes in himself in so many different ways. You see how he handles and he conducts himself when he's with the national team. He's not like the young lad who's scared of everything now. He's a proper player, and I'm not. We understand how good this player can be, but on the other hand, at the moment, he is a very good right fullback. And when you have seen players like Cafu, Dani Alves, and how important they are for the team, the question is, why do you want to move a player who could become something like that, like Marcelo or whatever, when we have this prototype now like he is? So I'm not sure we are looking for changing him, but perhaps Fabinho's skills of being a right fullback is bad news for Klein.
Christian, I think I love you even more than I did 5 minutes ago, buddy. That's exactly where I stand on this one. I think Trent has to have a conversation with the manager about his future, because as Christian just said, Dave, he can go on to be one of the great right backs in world football, not just European football, world football. That's how high this dude's ceiling is. He's only 19 years of age, and nothing in this career of his so far has fazed him.
No, he's a sensational talent, and I agree with you both. I think the point to make is, yeah, he can probably look at this in two ways. Number one is, if he moves to central midfield, he has a chance to become a very, very good central midfield, which I've no doubt he could be. But if he stays a right back, he has the chance and he has the opportunity to become one of the greatest right backs at Liverpool Football Club, equaling one of the great right backs in world football. And that could be, I know Liverpool fans sometimes are guilty of blowing smoke up players' arses and all that. But for me, he ticks every single box. He can pass the ball, he can shoot, his reading the game is phenomenal. He's really put on weight as well, but proper muscular weight. He's filled out. He's not afraid to kind of shoulder guard players. If you look at what he does as well in the game, I know he's had a couple of dodgy passes, let's say, but his reading of the game and the way he holds the line is second to none. I have never seen an 18, 19-year-old do what he does, kind of reading the game mentality-wise. He's just brilliant.
There's a question that's after coming in from one of the listeners of the video podcast here. Harry Carling wants to know, Christian, which Liverpool players this season do you think are on a make or break season? So basically, they either put up or shut up and they're shipped out at the end of the season.
Lallana is the obvious and first choice that comes to mind. I think he has the shortest time to prove that he's going to stay, because I think he has the same length left like Henderson. He had 2 years left from his contract or something like that. I think that's the same with Lallana. I'm not sure he's going to make it, actually, especially with Oxlade-Chamberlain coming back from not that far. So I would say Lallana and obviously Sturridge, who are in his last year on his contract. So those two players.
And Dave, for you, buddy?
Maybe even Matip.
Did you say maybe Matip at the end?
Yeah.
I see it. You took the words right out of my mouth. Beautiful. We're on the same wavelength again, Christian. I love it. Dave, for you, buddy, who do you think's make or break?
Me too. Yeah, I'm the same. I'd throw in, and I've kind of changed my tune about him now, and the more I read about kind of reports, and even from his national team manager, it'd be Dominic Solanke. How is this guy progressing? And I think the way the club are looking at it as well, look, he wasn't a huge investment. If we do get rid of him, it's going to be a very, very small loss. And do you know what? We might actually make money on him. You never know the way Michael Edwards works. But yeah, for me, Adam Lallana, for obvious reasons, I don't think he gets into the Liverpool team now anyway. When 100% fit, he's a decent backup option. Number 2, Matip. I had really high hopes for the lad when he came. I watched him at Schalke. He was very good. Very good when he came into Liverpool as well, but he just looks like Bambi on ice now. Dominic Solanke, Divock Origi. Who else now? Alberto Moreno. I can't see him getting a new contract, to be honest with you. Sturridge. If Sturridge isn't banging on the manager's door asking him why he's not getting on and getting more minutes, then he'd probably be gone as well. I think Klopp would like a player banging on his door to ask, look, boss, gaffer, what's happening here? why am I getting more minutes? I've done it in pre-season. I want more minutes. I want to play for Liverpool Football Club. So I can see Sturridge staying.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with both your suggestions. And you don't like to talk about anybody being kicked out or forced out of Liverpool Football Club, because once there's a player here, there are a player, we support him. Even if his name is Simon SpongeBob Mignolet, we still stand over these players. There are guys, we back them to the hilt. Jay said, in the past, fullbacks has been an unsexy position. However, many teams, including Liverpool, it's now an auxiliary midfielder in many aspects. Therefore, I hope Trent stays at right back, could go on to become world class. So Jay's, I think, pretty much summarising what Christian said there earlier on. That is a spot that he can make his mark in world football. I think we all agree on that one. Looking ahead to the game against Spurs, we spoke about possible team selections, Dave, but I want to know, honestly, hand on heart, what result would you accept if I offered it to you now for this game?
I'd take a draw away from home at a game we lost 4-1 last year, so it would obviously be an improvement. You know, there's an old saying in football, like it used to be more apparent when you used to get 2 points for home, and that's, look, win your home games and draw your away games. But look, if we can draw our away games with the top 4, top 5, then, you know, in a realistic world, that's a good result. But fuck it, I'm going for 114 points this season. But if you gave me a draw now, I'd take it off you.
And Christian, would you take a draw, or do you think we're capable of going there and getting a win?
Yeah, I'm actually a bit worried. I mean, the last 2 games, Liverpool didn't really look that good. The first 2 games, I think, were very solid. First was a great display. Second at the Palace, we controlled the game perfectly. But then the second 2 games, Brighton had the opportunity to get a draw at Anfield, and Leicester were really fighting us. So we are lucky to have 12 points at the moment, and then go to Wembley playing Spurs. And we know what Spurs can do if they have their day. I would completely agree with Dave. I would take a draw. On the other hand, if I'm hoping what we could have achieved now is to get our form to hit this moment with all these games coming up. Like, now we hit our peak. Like, now we are going to be the best. Maybe we were preparing to be the best now, so to speak. I would take a draw, but I hope we go into a momentum state now, and we will destroy all these great teams in a row. That would just be amazing.
I'm with Christian. I want to go into this one balls out and fully believe that we're capable of going there, taking 3 points, laying down a marker. I said it last night, 3 points against Spurs will open up a 6-point gap with Spurs, 6-point gap with Manchester United, 6-point gap with Arsenal, keep the 2-point gap on Manchester City, and of course whatever happens with Watford and Chelsea happens, we can affect those results. There's a very interesting point come in from Stigblom Anderson, and he said Spurs players looked a bit tired after the World Cup, Dave, and they haven't really got going this season. No,
it is a very good point. They were very lucky against Newcastle in their opening game. I watched that. We saw what happened against Watford. They were poor, and that's putting it mildly. So look, we could be playing Spurs at a really good time as well. I'm not saying I don't think we win, but I'm just saying if you gave me the opportunity not to lose against Tottenham Hotspur, I'd take it. But of course, I do think we can go out there and beat them. I think on paper we have a better team. And as you said, balls out. I think we need to go to Wembley and open them up pretty early, you know, put them under pressure. I think the beautiful thing about this is, and Klopp has said, Liverpool is still in pre-season mode and we're top of the league. We've conceded 1 goal. And if we have to click yet, if we have another couple of gears to go up, well, let's do it against Spurs and let's absolutely wipe the floor with them, because we're capable of doing it to any team. It's just we need just that spark just to click us in, and I've no doubt we could beat them.
Christian, bit of shock news. Dele Alli has had to pull out of the England camp with an injury, but the good news for Spurs fans is that even though he's fucking injured enough not to play for England, it looks like he's going to be fine for the weekend to play against Liverpool. He has a touch of Raheem Sterling-itis.
Yeah, perhaps. I think I kind of think that Spurs on paper has as good team as we do, but I think we have a better squad. I think we have more options to choose from actually than what they do, and I agree. They didn't look that impressive. On the other hand, one team that has impressed me wildly this season is Watford. I'm really happy we didn't get them in the beginning of the season. I kind of knew that Tottenham, because how they looked when they were going into that game against Watford, that they would be struggled, because they have really improved. And that's saying a lot, because that guy who went to Everton, Richarlison, he has been brilliant for Everton. So losing a good player like that, and still your team has improved, that's impressive. But I'm coming back to the result. I think Dele Alli is really important, but for him not to able to participate in all week's training and preparation, it's not ideal for any club. So hopefully that will be some disturbance for them. But I think it will be about how Harry Kane will go against Joe Gomez. That's what I think was the game. If Joe Gomez delivers an outstanding performance like Lovren did with Harry Kane and deleted him or erased him from the game, basically, then I think we will win. But that's where they're going to put the pressure. They will use Dele Alli or Son or whatever and go for Trent and Gomez. That's where they will attack, and Eriksen will move into that area.
Dave, I was thinking there when Christian spoke, he made a really good point about Spurs and their squad depth, and Spurs have an excellent starting 11, as Christian said, a starting 11 that's probably able to be pitted against any other team from a starting 11 perspective in the Premier League, but they almost remind me of where Liverpool have been a few times over the past few years, that they're just there or thereabouts, but they hadn't got that depth, which was the difference between us being able to really push on and make a challenge, or us maybe having a good run in something like the Champions League and getting a one-off good season like that.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's a lot to be said for the continuity they have now at White Hart Lane, or Wembley, sorry, at Spurs, because Pochettino didn't bring in anyone which can really, really, boost the players' kind of mentality. To, if he comes in and says, look, you're the guys I completely trust in, same again next season, just let's step it up a bit. But at the same time, this is the Premier League we're talking about, where you constantly have to be improving your squad. Constantly. It's as simple as that. A couple of injuries and a few suspensions, Tottenham are a completely different team, which is, what I want to see. They're no way as good. Whereas, we get a couple of injuries. Let's say we get one or two injuries, which we have already in midfield. The belt is there. The conveyor belt is there. You have Fabinho to come in. Oxlade-Chamberlain's yet to come back. Squad-wise, we're in a much better place than Tottenham. And if I was a Spurs fan, I would actually be genuinely worried with what's going on in the club, between the shite that's going on at White Hart Lane, but also the lack of investment coming into that team. If you don't invest for 1 year, that could set you back 2 or 3 years. So it's going to be a really interesting season for Spurs, to be honest with you.
You know what, Dave? Honestly, giving this some thought, mate, fuck him.
Endorsed. Fuck him as well.
Dipping back into the chat, Hassan said, come on you Reds, we fear nobody. Antico said, Dele Alli pulling out of the England friendly but expected to be fit for us. He's got the FA on tap. Golden Boys. Here's one that actually, Christian, that I wanted to bring around to you, and a player we didn't mention. We spoke about Dele Alli, we spoke about Harry Kane, we spoke about Son even to a degree, but Lucas Moura has been fantastic for Spurs this season and really seems to have settled in at the club, and they're starting to see the best of him.
Yeah, and they have this really strange start of the season where Son has to go and play for South Korea, so they will not lose him for a year to become a military or do the military service. And they knew when they set up the start of the season that they wouldn't be playing Son. So they went to Mora and told him, you will be the start. Basically kind of the same that Klopp did with Gomez. And he has really delivered. I thought to have Son gone from their team, who was so good fit together with the other ones. But he has really delivered. And I actually think that has made Spurs a bit stronger to have that options up front as well. I think he will start, and I think Son will start on the bench against Liverpool.
Dave, I've got to be honest, we were linked with Lucas Moura for probably a couple of seasons now, and I'd looked at him at Paris Saint-Germain, and I'd seen a player who was a bit stop-start, didn't quite get into his flow and didn't reach the peaks that perhaps people expected. But I've got to say, I don't know if I want to say the word pleasantly surprised, but I've been surprised at quite how well he's taken to the Premier League.
Has he had an amazing start to the season though, Craig? To be honest, I know the only game I can really think where he was head and shoulders above everyone else was United, where he got the 2 goals. Apart from that, he hasn't been, rants and raves about him. He's a good footballer, and he obviously is adjusted now to the Premier League. But I think there's 3 or 4 other better players at Spurs than him. Yeah, he's been good, but the way I'll look at it is over a course of the season, that come May, if you were talking about them 2 players in the same position, Naby Keita, and I'm raving about Naby Keita again, I know, and Lucas Moura, I put my house on it, you'd be talking about Naby Keita before Lucas Moura. This is why I do think 11 against 11, even at this stage, we have a better 11 than Spurs, our best 11 against their best 11. Yeah, he's been good, but, I kind of changed the subject a bit. The lad we've been linked with, who could be coming on a free, if you had Lucas Moura or Rabiot as a free, who would you take?
Yeah, no, it's a fair show. You know my answer on that, mate. I don't even need to give it to you.
Yeah. Rabiot, exactly. Yeah, and all day and all week.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. He's a very Daniel Levy signing, though. I have to say, he's one of those players that only Spurs would really get a deal like that done. Christian, before we kind of finish up on tonight's pod, the Champions League draw was made recently enough, and I don't think I've caught up with you since. So I just want to get your thoughts on the Reds group. Of course, we were drawn with Paris Saint-Germain, Napoli, and Red Star Belgrade. There's only 2 teams in that group, buddy, who've ever won the Champions League, and PSG and Napoli ain't one of them.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to have one short comeback to that with Lucas Moura. I think that explains a bit. They bought him in January, right? Yeah. And now he starts playing. We brought Fabinho from the French league. So according to see how quick Lucas Moura get into the team, Fabinho will be a starter for us around January. If you look at how long time, how many preparation it took to set him up for the new league. It was kind of the same with Oxlade-Chamberlain. It took 3-4 months before he became a regular in our team. I think fans don't need to be too worried about Fabinho. It's about preparing his muscles, preparing his body for what the Premier League is. It's not the French Riviera. It's England, and it's raining, and it's cold, and it's tough, and you have to go to a tough stadium, and everybody hates you in a much more profound way, and the referee is blind, and many things like that they need to prepare these players for, especially if they come from Brazil or whatever. So I think it's all about just time. They want and believe in Fabinho, so no reason to worry. Just have patience. Coming back to the group, obviously it's a tough group, but I think Paris Saint-Germain, I can see 5 teams I rather wouldn't have than Paris Saint-Germain. Napoli looked like they suited us, and Red Star Belgrade, they are not at the peak of their football career. However, it's a really fun group because we will be hated away against Napoli. We will be hated away against Red Star Belgrade. It will be those kind of games where the blood rushes, and you will get to meet Neymar at Anfield, and you will hate him for rolling around. And I'm so much looking forward to this group. It's going to be amazing.
Dave, you said to me there during the week, I think this was before Red Star Belgrade were fucked out of travelling to away games. You said to me that you fancy a little trip down to Belgrade for the away leg of this game. Are you still feeling that way?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely, yeah. Why not? It'd be good to see go to a team that won the European Cup. I think it was the last time it was 1991. Yeah, I love doing little European adventures where I used to I don't massively love the competition, but for away games, the Europa League was funny if you get to end up in God knows where. But from here where I am to Belgrade, it's a direct flight, and it's actually not that expensive. I was looking at flights that are about €140 return, so I'm all over it. Yeah, absolutely.
I was thinking of sending you over a Shaqiri 23 shirt. Would you mind wearing that if you go to the Belgrade game?
Oh, not even that. I'll have the Albanian jersey on me. Get in there, straight in, balls out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Christian, did you see actually the president of Red Star came out and said that he's going to try his best to make sure that Xherdan Shaqiri feels safe and comfortable during his trip?
I'm not sure Shaqiri is going to be honest. We have to see.
And finally, Christian, your thoughts on the Napoli president crying like a little girl to UEFA about the draw that pitted them in a group with Liverpool, even though it was abundantly clear to everybody what pot Liverpool were going to be in before the draw was made.
Yeah, but you kind of understand him though. You have been struggling for all this time, and then you get to the draw and you draw the Champions League finalists as in the seeding group 3. It's just horrible, and I think they need to sort that out at UEFA. They need to change how it is. Both of the finalists should be in pot 1. I mean, instead of like Lokomotiv Moscow or whomever was up there. I think that's ridiculous. On the other hand, what I like is that people around Europe, club leaders, supporters around the world, everybody's talking with Liverpool or about Liverpool today with a huge amount of respect and admiration for how good we are now. And I can take those kind of comments all day long.
Dave, we're back, baby. We're back where we belong, at the top table.
I'll just give my 2 cents regarding the group as well. I actually don't think it's a bad group. I don't rate Thomas Tuchel as a manager.
B-Tech club.
He's brand new in France.
He's a B-Tech club.
Yeah. And Napoli have a new manager in Ancelotti. Yeah, he's a decent manager, but look, it's a new manager, it's a new system. And then we have Belgrade, who we should be beating home and away. Look, we're getting 114 points in the league. We should be getting 18 points in this Champions League group as well.
Actually, I was thinking about the Champions League group. And final thing before I let you guys go, what points tally do you think tops this group? I've had a little look at this, and I think 13 points may be enough to top us the group.
My take is that I think we will win the group. And I think Paris Saint-Germain will go with us to the next stage.
Yeah, I agree, Christian.
But I think we might beat each other. I think we can go through and win all the other games, both teams. But I think they might beat us in Paris, and I can't see us losing to anyone at Anfield, really. So I think it could be about like goal difference versus Paris.
Well, obviously we're going to fucking bitch slap Paris. At Anfield, Dave, Neymar's not going to get a kick. The only person that actually worries me from that PSG team is Kylian Mbappe. The rest of them I couldn't give a fuck about.
Yeah. 3-1 Reds, Anfield, tomorrow week.
And you're going for 12 points to top the group?
No, I think 12 points will be enough to top the group. I'm going balls out, mate. I think we'll get 18 points.
I love your optimism, Dave. I mean, I love this stuff. We could go through this all season. But look, we got to leave it there. One thing is for sure, you guys in the chat are confident. I'm confident. Christian and Dave are very confident. It's set up for the Reds. We move into a tricky period where Christian suggested earlier on we will be tested. Let's hope Liverpool can get through this, come out the other side, and we go into the busy Christmas period in a couple of months, still where we are now, top of the league. Thank you to everybody for joining us. Thank you to Christian and Dave, and of course to you guys in the chat. We'll leave it there, and up the motherfucking Reds.